Okay. Um, so thanks everyone for joining. The point of this meeting is to discuss um, how to keep uh, tracking of token usage in the proxy endpoints. We had initially thought that we had discovered there was a merge request that I'm missing the link now. Basically, we did a merge request where we parsed the result returned by the proxy endpoint, and we reported the relevant token usage event, but it doesn't handle streaming responses, and that is what Cloud Code actually does. It does streaming responses. So I was looking at what will be needed to to handle that use case. Let me share the comment that where is the share screen thing? There it is. Um, the issue is that we're just keeping uh, that parsing code entirely if we're streaming. And uh, what I initially did was go to the Litellm code that tries to do this and see what their implementation of this parsing look like. And there's a lot because this comes in chunks of JSON data, but it's not like you can get incomplete JSON data, so you cannot just take a chunk and parse it. You need to take a chunk, check that it's complete. If not, wait for the next chunk. Then when you have a full chunk, parse it, and then keep accumulating that uh, until you get all the data. So um, in the issue that we're discussing here, thanks Martin for creating it. The first two options we have is, do we want to add all this? We already have logic for the non-streaming responses. Do we want to add that kind of logic for the streaming responses? Or do we want to instead maybe switch to relying on the Light LLM code that does this? So Light LLM, by the way, has like this specific functionality is something that they aim for. They want to have a pass-through where you have it's exactly what we want to accomplish, which is have the native input format, have the native output format, but have cross-tracking login and so on. So we kind of overlap there. And uh, this is what I wanted to check in with Shekhar and Igor, who have been more involved with this proxy logic.
Yeah, I was looking at this a bit, and I actually went through the both implementations. I couldn't understand how we would implement. So the light, there is like this pass through sort of API in Light LLM, but that's primarily meant for like Bedrock and some other sort of, it was like a stopgap thing which they had. And so there is this like pass through, but it doesn't work for like Anthropic upstream, like standard Anthropic, right? But they have the pass through API itself. But that API is sort of, we've got our own fast API server which runs AI gateway, and we sort of need to mount those routes on top of our fast API server so that we can call the same AI gateway potentially, right? So I'm trying to understand how we would incorporate those routes into our AI gateway.
So I will not use the Light LLM proxy. I will just look under the hood to
Yeah, exactly.
what those are
Yeah,
calling, and I did a little bit of that already, and yeah, just use it as a library,
yeah.
not use their own.
That was my thought as well, is that we could just mount the fast API routes just like what is happening in the routes, and then use that. Yeah, so I think that's a better solution than counting API tokens, because counting API tokens is quite messy. And then every sort of, if you look at, we have to support for both OpenAI and Claude, but I know for a fact that we've also been talking about having Amazon Kiro go through the same mechanism, and then also Gemini going through the same mechanism. So, um, so we would have to implement the token counting logic everywhere. And for each provider it'd be different. That means we need to maintain it. If we could leverage Light LLM to do some of that, that would be actually quite useful. Um,
Here is a preview of what that uh, code looks like. So obviously they have something similar to what we have, where they have uh, endpoints for each specific provider. So here's the one for Anthropic. Um, I I was kind of digging into that, and even though this one is called logging handler, I think this is the one that we kind of want to base or import into our code, because this is what does internally all the parsing. So this is what we will do, right? Like we wouldn't rely on the fast API endpoints that they rely on. We will just use their underlying code and import it into uh, or packages. This is the Litellm code. Um, there,
yeah,
yep, go ahead.
that makes sense. Now for Claude, that does work, right? For OpenAI, they mentioned that I don't think it handles token counting, right? So what would we do for OpenAI?
Yeah, so according to the documentation and topic pass-through, all supported. Uh, but OpenAI pass-through, no cost tracking. And what Martin had said, and Martin found the issue, the upstream issue at some point. There is an open issue on the LightLM repository of this. Maybe we have to, in that case, we do have to bite the bullet and try to solve that ourselves in the LightLM code, and then that's the way we accomplish that. But thank you,
Yeah.
Martin. There is.
Yeah, that's the issue. Um, yeah,
Oh,
that makes sense to me. Like, I mean, I'm just thinking that if you have to write the token parsing logic anyway, then should we just go and parse it? So anyway, we need to handle the way the JSON responses are coming and incomplete JSONs, etc. For each chunk. Um,
so I think that the code for code chunk parsing already exists in for OpenAI. They just are not extracting. They're not extracting the token usage information from it. But I think it will be less work to use the parsing logic that already exists in OpenAI.
Mhm.
But maybe I'm wrong. That I think, yeah, if there's no chunk parsing logic for OpenAI in LightLM, then it's probably easier for that one to happen in the AI gateway. But if there's some advantage to doing the contribution upstream, then we should consider that, I think.
Can I ask a quick silly question? Yeah, just for my own understanding. So currently, the problem is that streaming doesn't return like for sync request, Anthropic API returns usage data, yeah, with all the tokens, so we can use it and show it, yeah. But for streaming, we don't have this data, right? Because it's like happens in the.
Each chunk has the token usage.
Uh-huh.
So as each chunk comes through, it gives you the incremental token usage for each chunk.
Yeah, just because I've tried a raw Anthropic request, yeah, something like this, yeah, like a simple curl, yeah, a request that like hello, and it actually has something in the end like message delta, message stop, and
Yeah.
has something like usage with tokens and output tokens. So yeah, my question is it something that can be used, or it's not like something that? we can use for our use case. What do you
What
Yeah,
think?
what
no.
most of what
We
most of these proxies are doing are they're counting as it's coming, each chunk. And the reason is if you stop the streaming in between, we're still
Hmm.
charging, right? Like
Yeah,
let's say if 90% of stream happens and you don't get the last bit, we still charge. And so that's why you want to count
yeah,
each. Like that's the reason is like
yeah. So that's one of the limitations, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
yeah,
we definitely
mhm,
do want to rely on this data that's returned by Anthropic when you're streaming.
mhm.
It's just that we're just not parsing it at the moment ourselves.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Then yeah, I would say that Litellm solution, yeah, sounds reasonable. Yeah, it just depends how hard it is yet to incorporate that like SDK, because as far as I understand, it's just like routing logic, and we'll try to adapt it somehow, yeah, to our use case, right?
Yeah,
Then what?
that is
Mhm.
another complication, which is that the most light LLM functionality is
Yeah.
intended to be used as a library. This one, not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's one maybe advantage, yeah, or maybe just an extra complication, yeah. But if we move forward with Little solution, yeah, we have a chance to also solve this problem for self-hosted models, yeah, because self-hosted models they rely on then rely on light LLM, yeah, and for example, they have Anthropic on Bedrock, yeah, or OpenAI on Azure, and currently they can't use our proxy endpoints.
Hmm.
But if we, for example, provide a light LLM proxy and would do some magic to reroute the request to Azure or Bedrock, in this case, that would also like fix the problem for self-hosted models. So yeah, it's like one of the advantages to actually move forward with light LLM.
Yeah, and thankfully they do have cost tracking and streaming for Bedrock, so we wouldn't have to, yeah, contribute to
Yeah,
that.
sounds cool.
Um, One thing I do, so this would require undoing a little bit of the work that we already do for parsing. So if I go really quick, this was my other question. Um, so if I go to our current code, so what was the name of the base proxy or Anthropic proxy clients? I should have. Container. Oh, here it is. This is the class that I was looking. Uh-huh. So right, we have already some logic on our code for parsing. Where is this? This this logic where we are doing already some of logic extracting somebody. This is all for non-streaming, but extracting the model name. Is there something that we will, because we'll need to stop using this code and switch to Light LLM? Is there any functionality that we want to preserve from this? I don't know if there's I haven't like studied this code. I don't know if there was some other authorization happening.
The only thing we need to preserve is just the filtering of the list of models. So we don't want to allow all models and
Mm.
only from the list, which we do like in, and that's in, yeah, that's an Anthropic proxy, or we do the check. Um, Not here in the actual proxy implementation itself.
allowed upstream paths, allowed headers,
Yeah.
allowed
So if
models.
you
Okay.
at least allowed upstream models, that's the main thing. Like that's the one we want to preserve.
Okay.
Uh, and allowed upstream paths also, I suppose. Though it's not such a bother, but allowed upstream model and allowed upstream paths, those are the ones you want to preserve. I don't
Okay.
think the rest honestly, I don't even know. We didn't write this. This was there before, when we were using the Anthropic proxy through Rails for some purposes. And so I think the rest exists beforehand.
Uh, okay. I know. So one thing I noticed here is we are using the model request instrumentator, which this is the one that populates our Prometheus metrics. So we probably want to preserve this one as well. But I think that we can do. Like we can put this and wrap it around
Not with
the light LLM code.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool. But let's note that. So we need to preserve a lot of stream nodes, a lot of stream parts, and model request instrument data. Okay. Um, that all sounds great. I guess that the next question is more for you, Martin. Like this is not trivial, anyways. This is adding a new library, contributing upstream. What is the timeline for this?
1889.
Okay.
We can work with Amanda, who's the PM, but I think 89 would be the best we can do.
Is there any risk if we contribute upstream and this doesn't get merged in time? Can we?
We can just patch it
Patch?
in.
Can we
Yeah,
patch it? Yeah.
yeah, we've done it before.
Okay. So the next steps, it sounds like we still need to figure out first if there is already like some parsing logic available for OpenAI that we could use. And then depending on that, either implement this directly or rely on what is already available in LighLLM.
Yeah.
Is there any, I mean, we can discuss that async as well, but is that something that we can implement within AI framework, Alejandro? Or is there some, like, besides reviews, is there some additional, like, work that we would need to rely on Igor and Shekhar on this topic, apart from reviewing MRs?
No, I think this can be done in AI frameworks. Yeah.
Okay. I have one more question, but we still have some time left. Is there anything on your end, Alejandro, that you meant to discuss on the implementation side for this?
So I mean, the other difference between our approach and the light LLM approach. Let me pull up again the Anthropic pass-through documentation. Is that they only had token tracking. They already have cost tracking on messages and V1 messages batches. And then when I look at our endpoint, or what we had here, it's also messages, but there's also discount tokens one. Is this also from the legacy code that we inherited for the proxy? So is this important for for Duo Agent platform, this endpoint, because I think this we might want to stop support. I don't know why anyone will proxy this endpoint for us, but this is not supported for cost tracking in Anthropic pass-through.
The count tokens is used by the Cloud Code itself.
Oh, okay.
So Cloud Code itself keeps calling count tokens. So we need that as well.
Okay. But then I guess, so the question is this, we wouldn't have cost tracking for this. So we would be incurring in this cost, but I'm guessing that maybe these costs are very cheap for us. That's the issue, that we don't have. Even today, even in our code, this does not have cost attribution.
I'm thinking the cost attribution there is small enough that we can incur it. I'm not sure. Like there are a number of things that are like excluded from billing, and I'm thinking that is too, but we can check, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and it seems to be. Let me maybe share my screen just to, so you can catch if I'm missing something. But token counting is free to use, but there are rate limits.
Okay.
So maybe like rate limits can be an issue, but probably not.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think it should be fine.
Great. Yeah, then that's the only implementation more specific question I had. I'll of course reach out if I have some more questions that come through.
Sounds good. Thanks for taking this on, Alejandro.
No
I know
worries.
it's not easy doing this stuff, but thank you for doing that.
Yeah, before we drop, I have one more question. This is more for GA scope. Based on what we discussed and based on the issues that we have with streaming and not being able to actually bill users for this feature, there was this decision to keep this in beta for 18.8 and implement this as GA for 18.9, as we discussed. There's currently additional concerns, and we're talking about we're waiting for a decision on the legal side because fulfillment and AIs are currently working on this opt-in approach for usage billing. So we want to allow feature teams to opt into usage billing, but there's additional challenges with this approach, especially on the usage quota side and the cutoff logic. So the easiest approach that we could think of is that we still, or someone was suggesting yesterday on the leadership call, that we would be looking into billing all beta features in GA. That means we will not exclude any features, which makes sense for the most part, but it then again is tricky in the case of third-party agents because we cannot properly bill customers because token counting does not work. So the question is, if we decide to go that route, and this still requires a legal sign-off, whether we can bill customers for beta features, what can we do about third-party agents? Is there like some estimates that we can do, or should we just push for completely excluding it from, like not even emitting usage billing events? Those are the only two options that I can think of. Either like estimate cost or not send these billing events to customers in the first place.
Estimating seems hard, right? How would you even do that?
Yeah. Because you only have the first, I think you only read the first chunk, right? That's all you have.
Yeah, like you could have some very, very basic, like, byte count of the input or something like that, but that's just a very primitive approximation, yeah.
And you don't know you don't even know the percentage of like the entire stream that is, right? It could be like 90%, but it could be 1%. So you don't know. Okay. So estimating sounds like a very risky or not even not a reliable approach at all. Okay, I think the other thing is that we could just, since we cannot exclude these things on customers.dot at this point, the only other approach that comes to my mind is that we just not emit this. Yeah, because it's like a separate event. We have a dedicated event for this. We just don't emit this for now.
Yeah, I think we should do that. Just stop emitting the event for now. And then later we figure out once we have the usage billing in, once we have the usage calculation enabled, and we start the event.
Because we have similar issues with like, well, it's not on the cost side, but we have the same or other problems on the beta feature side with agentic chat. Because, for example, if you run out of credits, users will be cut off for agentic chat. But technically, they could still use foundational agents, which are a beta feature. And then the problem is, how do you cut off access to agentic chat, but keep users access to beta features? So it's like all twisted and interconnected. So I think in this case, it makes sense to cut it off or just to not. Yeah,
I think overcomplicating this thing.
Yeah. And a lot of this comes. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, do we need to stop sending them? Can we send them and they ignore it for it? Oh no, because that's the whole point, that they don't have a mechanism to ignore now. Yeah, so we stop sending.
The idea was that we would exclude features on a granular level, on the workflow definition level. But that's challenging. Technically, since this event, the proxy endpoint is like a hard-coded event that's only used for these type of features, we could simply exclude that on customers.dot as well. But I think it's easier to just exclude it not send it in a gateway for like one iteration and then reintroduce it once we have proper streaming solution in place. Okay, so that was just my only ask, and I don't even know what the direction is on the legal side. But in case this is approved, then we at least have an answer to what we do about third-party agents. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. I need to drop. Cheers.
Yes. Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.